Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue au Pendu dans le Cercle de Lune. Hello friends. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm pleased to meet you. Thank you for coming. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably think, because of my attempt at a French introduction to this video, that this is going to be one of my Tarot de Marseille adjacent or antique Italian deck response videos to the larger spread that I've done this week. And I have done a larger Lenormand based spread for this week because I'm in the beginning stages of my year-long deep dive into the Lenormand system. However, this week I am not using Tarot de Marseille or Tarot de Marseille adjacent cards. I'm using a different system. I'm pulling out one of my Continental Tarot system decks, which is concurrent with late Tarot de Marseille and a little bit later than that. Yeah, there's no end to the Tarot de Marseille tradition, but the Continental Tarot system begins later than the beginning of Tarot de Marseille. It's where on the continent, continental Europe, Tarot becomes more esotericized, right? By people like Atea and Eliphas Levi, etc. So I'll show you which deck I'm using in just a moment. But before we get to the deck, let me remind you, as a little bit of an experiment, how grateful I am. Yeah? When you hit the like button and subscribe, you are a benefit to this channel. And the experiment is, did you see the like button glowing in a rainbow kind of aura? If you did, then the experiment worked. I'm told that the YouTube AI is listening for keywords like hit the like button. And when it hears that, it will make the like button glow. I've seen it happen on other channels. I want to see if it can happen here. So if you did notice the like button glowing, let me know in the comments below. Just an experiment. But I am grateful if you do that. If you hit the like button and you subscribe, you are a benefit to other people because YouTube thinks other people might like this content and it will show this content to people who might not otherwise have seen it otherwise. So there's that. And thank you. And also, just a reminder that this spread that we're about to see is in response to an earlier spread. So I highly recommend that you go and watch that video first and then come watch this one. Yes? Because without seeing the content from the first spread, perhaps you might not understand why I'm reading this spread in the way that I am. So I'll put a card up here so that you can click on it and hop on over and watch that video first and then come back and watch this. And remember, you don't have to watch any of these videos in one long sitting. If they're too long for you, you can watch them in bits and pieces. There's no YouTube police that's going to go out and arrest you for not following the rules and watching the video from beginning to end, right? So, no worries. Watch it at your own pace. But watch that one first and then come back so that you understand why I'm answering the question that I ask every week, which is, what is the central message of this week's Lenormand spread? Why I'm responding to that question with these cards in the way that I am. Okay, so do that. Now, just in case you have seen the larger video and you want a quick refresher, the title for that video was Anchoring Hope. And the general idea was that, at least the way I read the spread, was that we were asked to find a way to ground our hope, to ground our feelings of fortune and maybe even luck, so that they can mature and become more stable. And we got the suggestion perhaps that we could choose to journal, I believe, as a way to do that, or to help us with that. And maybe communicating with other people was another possibility. We might find a lover or someone that we love in a platonic sense that will help us in that endeavor. But I think we had a really strong indication that journaling would be helpful for us in this coming week, and maybe beyond. So friends, like I said, we've got a whole little spread laid out. So what I will do is I will show you the spread. I will tell you which cards I am using. Maybe you don't recognize them. Well, even if you are a returning visitor, you might not recognize one of these decks. I've used it before, but only a couple of times. So, I'll tell you which decks I'm using, and just in case you are new here, I'll just tell you how these cards are being laid out, and then we will break the spread up into its two major components and read those components together. Are you all ready? Okay, friends, here we go. Here is this week's spread. What do you think of these decks? You notice that there are two decks in play, right? Well, if you are a return visitor, you probably recognize the deck from the Oracle deck below. I've used that deck many, many times. It's the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. It's a mass market deck. If you want to get a copy, I'll have a link in the description box below to order it on Amazon, but you can find it other places as well. Right? It's a wonderful astrologically based tarot deck. And I chose that deck because of its astrological associations and because I think the artwork also matches fairly well the tarot deck that we had above. And those two cards below will give us either advice, they might give us a reiteration of the message of the tarot cards above, or they might add another layer of meaning to the message. Okay, so we have those two. Now above we had four, count them, 4 tarot cards from a special deck. Do you recognize that deck? Have you seen this deck before? This is the Udes Picard tarot deck. Now for some reason I had thought in the past that this was a Spanish deck. It is not, the creator is not a Spanish creator. The creator is French. Which is why I used the French opening. But the deck that I'm using is a redrawing and a coloring of the Udes Picard original, and it's very, very, very close to the original drawings by Udes Picard. It's created by the beautiful Christine Payne-towler and her husband who has passed, Michael. Now, I will have a link in the description box below so that you can order this deck from her site. It's not mass market, it is independently produced, but to my knowledge, it is still available. When I last checked, it was available. So, I'll have a link down there. It's a lovely deck. The cardstock is magnificent, easy to shuffle. It's not matte, but it's not glossy. It's got a little bit of a waxy coating to it, so the cards don't go flying off as you try to shuffle them, but they shuffle beautifully. The color, I think, is beautifully done. It's a very crisp, easy to read deck. If you want to get used to, or if you want to incorporate Udes Picard's deck into your library, which could be challenging because, if you don't know this already, Udes Picard reassociated 2 of the suits. Yeah, the wands are still fire, the pentacles are still earth, or I should say the coins are still earth, but he switched the cups and the swords. So the cups are now air, and they're associated with the air signs, which are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Now you might be thinking, cups, why are they air? They should be water. Well, if you can think about it this way, Christine Payne-towler pointed me in this direction. The cups are imagined as crystal cups that you can see through and that refract light, and so air. Whereas swords are our earth. And maybe we can think of swords as things that we can use to dig up the earth, I suppose. And they're associated with the, I'm sorry, not earth. Brain fart. They're water, right? So, yes, I'm sorry. So the cups are air. The swords are water. Why are they water? Well, maybe you can think of it, oh, this way. Yes. So the swords, we put the sword in the fire so that it gets nice and soft so that we can shape the sword, right? And then we plunge it in water so that it is shaped and the shape is held. So maybe it's that. Maybe it's that plunging of this hot sword in water so that it gains its stable structure. That might be one way of remembering it. So just so you know, yes, this deck could be a little challenging if you are a reader who reads elementally. The cups and the swords have been switched, but they kind of make sense. Okay, so friends, those cards above give us the main message. And I will tell you why there are 4 on the top in just a moment when we start to read these cards in the groups. So, right now, I will show you the 4 cards on the top once more so that you can get another glimpse at the images, and then we'll read those together, and then after that we'll read the 2 oracle cards below. Are you ready? So here are the tarot cards right now. Friends, you saw from left to right we had it's called La Maison Dieu, which could be God's house or the house god or the God house. Yeah, I go with the God house, but your choice. La Maison Dieu. The next we had was the 6 of Wands, and then we had the King of Wands, and then we had the 8 of Cups. And you see that this is what could be considered a semi-pip deck, because the image has more than just the elements, but there are no people on the deck in the small cards, 1 through 10, doing things like you would see in even like a Solabusca, but in other decks, for example, the ones that come out of the Golden Dawn, right? So, why are there 4 cards? Well, did you notice that the King of Wands, le Roi de Sceptre, I think, was facing off to the right. I think that's your right. Left, right. Yeah, that should be your right. So the king was facing off to the right. So I thought, what is he looking at? Yeah, I decided I would read this deck with line of sight, just as I would read a Tarot de Marseille deck. So the king was looking off to the right, so I pulled another card, which was the 8 of Cups, and I thought, okay, we stop here. Yeah, so we'll start off with the God house, and I think that's the direction, from left to right. Because of the king looking from left to right, I thought that's the way to read. So we start off with La Maison Dieu, and this is very much a typically shaped tower card for other decks, right? You see the tower there. We see the tower being blasted from the heavens. We see 2 figures escaping. Now, an interesting thing about the continental system, which predates the Golden Dawn, is that their association for the Hebrew letters is different. Where the Golden Dawn places the first Hebrew letter Aleph on the Fool, and then Bet on the Magician, The Continental Tarot put the Fool towards the end of the deck. So Aleph begins with the Magician, which is number 1, which to me makes a heck of a lot more sense. Because Aleph is a symbol for the number 1 as well. Now, the Hebrew letters were used as a counting system as well as a system for, and that's not only Hebrew, it's also Phoenician, but as also a counting system as well as a system for expressing words. So Aleph, being number 1, the Magician, makes so much more sense to me than on the unnumbered card of the Fool, which eventually got the number 0 attached to it, but was originally unnumbered. The Continental system will put the Fool card generally in 2 places. Either at the end of the line of major arcana, so after the World, or, interestingly, between the World and the Judgment card. So either the Fool will have the Tao on it and the World will have Shin, or the World will have Tao and the Fool will have Shin. Just saying. So, right now we're at the Tower. And because the line starts with number 1 being the Magician and Aleph, where the Golden Dawn would place Ain on the Devil, Ain is here with the house god, or la maison Dieu. And also, the astrological association here is Aries. So we start off, so we got fire. Yeah, Aries is the first fire zodiac, which is the domicile of Mars, from which we get cardinal fires, vital attributes entering our reading. So we start off with cardinal fire. And then we go into another Wands card. Well, we go into a Wands card, which is fire. And then we got the King of Wands, which is also fire. So we have a lot of fire leading up to this Cups card, which is air for cups, right? So we got a lot of fire. Now, interestingly, when we had, everything's interesting for me today. Interestingly, when we had the larger reading from the Lenormand spread, I put 4 tarot cards around the Lenormand part of the spread to read elementally. And in that spread, we had Cups, which in that deck is water, and we had Pentacles, which are earth, in that deck that I was using, and we had 1 major arcana. But of the minor arcana cards, they were all the receptive elements, right? Earth and water are the receptive elements. Here, we've got a whole bunch of fire and 1 air, all the active elements in this spread, which is interesting, right? All receptive, here we have all active. So while that section gave us advice about our receptivity, I think this section is giving us information about our activity. And we start off again with Aries being cardinal fire, which means that we are leaping into a new cycle of development with Mars, right? With our passions. They might not be focused, but they're ready to get out there and try new things and do the stuff, get stuff done. The Hebrew letter is Ayin, which gives us eye, which can be to see and understand, but it can also be the light of God which cracks open the tower. And speaking of the light of God, because it's Ayin, we have the rune Sowilo. And Sowilo, which kind of looks like a lightning-shaped S, lightning, yeah, great associations for the Tower card, is also the rune for the sun, right? The sun, the sky god tradition. So a light of God being Ayin, the sun being the heavenly God Father, right? We have the element of power and victory here. Success, honor, knowledge, and willpower is here with Sewillow. Very interesting, right? Now, according to Picard, the La Maison Dieu is the card for the fall of Adam. Very, very negative way of approaching this, right? It's punishment from pride. So, our willpower could lead us to pride. Our sense of honor and knowledge and success could lead us to pride, which could bring us to a fall, right? It could be a failure of mind. It could be the balance being upset, right? The lightning, the finger of God, comes down and points and cracks things open. But even Uds Picard, I think, points to the possibility of this being a neutral divine intervention. That the finger of God, the lightning rod of God, is pointing down and cracking us open to intervene. And that intervention can be our ability to see anew, to understand anew, to crack us open from whatever barricades we've constructed around ourselves. And whatever barricades are around us, we have constructed them, either physically or with our minds. And that's interesting because this next card, the Six of Wands, everything's interesting to me today, right? Okay, the Six Wands, what do we see here? We see, so this is supposed to be corn, according to the guidebooks. To me it looks like wheat, but okay, corn. It's corn growing above the ground. We got the sun above, radiating light. I'm sorry, the sun on the horizon, radiating light, warming the ground and allowing the corn to grow. But below the ground at the roots, there are bugs down there eating the roots. So there's a positive aspect to this card and a negative aspect to this card as well, which is again the Six of Wands, Six of Fire. So there could be a cycle of laziness and work. Work a little, be lazy a little. Work a little, be lazy a little. So we had the sense of balancing things and juggling things in the earlier spread for this week. So that could be indicated here. We could be haunted by regrets or our memory of setbacks. It's possible here, and that could be a challenge because what we want to do now is to ground and stabilize our hope. That could knock us off of our potential trajectory of maturing our hope. But this card also, according to Uds Picard, points to future potentials ripening under the sun. So we have that balance of potential pitfalls, but also potential ripening and growth and maturing and developing, which was indicated in the earlier spread this week. So we go from this tower, this cracking open, this perhaps divine intervention, into a potential, if we can avoid the potential of falling into negative feelings around our regrets and the setbacks we've experienced in the past, we have the potential for growing and ripening under the light of the sun, which could be self-created, but is also fed by the divine, right? The sun from Sewillow, the light of God from Ayin, will grow our potential. Into what? Into this wonderful, wonderful King of Wands card. And you notice that the king is standing on top of a lion in the midst of flames. So, what do you think? what is the zodiacal sign associated to this card? It is Leo, right? Leo, which is the domicile of which planet? The sun. So here, the king is standing on the representative of the sun, which also gives us fixed fire's vital attributes entering our world. So we're more grounded. Aries is less grounded. It's a little unstable. It doesn't necessarily focus on things well. Whereas Leo, while they are playful, they're a little bit showy, but they're more grounded, right? They're fixed. So we have that growth here with the King of Wands, maturation, zodiacally maturing into our leonine aspects. And for Uzbekard, the King of Wands is the genius or the great talent in activity. So we have the potential to let our genius shine. And remember, genius comes from the idea of a genie, right? A jinn, our genius, which originally was not our own intellect, but rather was the spirit, our genius, which inspired us to be smart, to be successful. Back in Roman times, right? So our genius fosters our great talent in activity. Now we can become leaders if we want to here. We want to be careful of becoming autocratic. We don't want to be dictatorial. But we can use our potential for charisma. We can be charismatic now. And we can be following the mandate of heaven. Now remember, see how these lines go? We've got this cracking open from the divine. We have the divine light shining on us so that we can grow. And now we receive the mandate of heaven to be our genius selves and work in the world. Be charismatic. Perhaps lead others if we have the potential and possibility and opportunity to do that. And then we move right into these, where are you? The 8 cups. Now, these 8 cups are supposed to be crystal cups, and we're supposed to be able to see the light refracting through them. But you also notice that 4 of the cups have butterfly wings, right? Do you see those? The 2 wings here, 2 wings here. Yeah, you see the butterfly wings? So these crystal cups refracting light also have the potential to fly in the air. And this is a card for balance and our ability to use reason. It can also be love returned, which is interesting if it's really an air sign. But these cups are filled with light, with higher reason, which illuminates our minds. Again, the genius illuminating our minds as well in this card. Right? We had our genius activating our talents, and here that genius is activating our reason, our mind. Being able to see clearly, unclouded by doubt or confusion. That's a very powerful thing, right? And moving from that cracking open and perhaps cracking down of the tower to that growth in the 6 of Wands, to that revelation of majesty in the King of Wands, to the enlightenment indicated here with the 8 of Cups. And our being able to use that reason, I believe, practically in the world. These are all potentials if we're able to do the work, I think, of grounding our hope, of maturing in our fortune, of perhaps doing the work of journaling, which would engage that reason, the reasonable mind reason. Illuminating our minds. Letting go of that past, that the regrets and the setbacks that could be eating away at us from the unconscious in the Six of Wands, getting rid of those so that we can focus on the growth of the Six of Wands, developing into the King, so that we give our attention to the Eight of Cups with balance and reason and minds, rational minds filled with light, illuminated minds. That makes sense, yes? Now we've got two cards below that will give us more information or perhaps advice. Let's look at those two cards right now. The two cards you saw from left to right were number one, because it's Aries, yeah, impulsiveness. And you saw that it was Mars in Aries. Remember, Mars in Aries with the Tower, right? So we got that re-emphasized. And then we had number 7, because this is Libra, for harmony. Now Libra is an air sign, right? And we had the Eight of Cups, which is air for the Uts-Picard card, for the Uts-Picard deck, I should say. But harmony is the sun in Libra. The sun in Libra. The sun reminding us of Leo and the King of Wands, right? Where are you, baby? Here you are. Yeah, Libra. Well, I mean, sorry, Leo and the King of Wands with the sun. So we've got that power of Mars and the sun running through these two cards. We start off with Aries, with impulsiveness, but we land on the sun in Libra with harmony. So that's all interesting. But let's start with impulsiveness. Here's the card. We see a wild figure galloping here. Above and on the left, there is a seal of 6 steps of creation. Yeah, this seal here is a symbol for the 6 steps of creation. It's also a protector of all things. And on the right, there is a horseshoe, which is a symbol of good fortune, which reminds us of the clover from the Lenormand card. I'm sorry, the Lenormand spread. So we got a little bit of that here. We've got Mars in Aries reminding us of the cracking open of the Le Maison Dieu. So what is this card for the creator of this deck? This is energetic and impulsiveness. Being energetic and impulsive. Wanting to get things done, like a good Aries. Yeah? But maybe starting numerous projects, not really thinking about which ones we're actually going to be able to see to the finish, right? We're just starting a whole bunch of stuff because we want to get a whole bunch of stuff done. And maybe we're acting before we're thinking. Yeah, there's a competitiveness here and a desire to be seen as a leader, but we're not there yet. Yeah, we have the potential to be outgoing and comfortable in the front of the pack, but we're not quite there as the leaders yet, I don't believe. And we want to do more. We want to be quicker than others. Yeah, we want to be seen as the best. But really, our power works best when we're using it with discreet control, rather than being showy, rather than trying to be there. Look, I'm better than all of you. I'm faster. I'm stronger. I'm more nimble, right? We want to use our power discreetly. We want to find focus, which is always the problematic thing for an Aries. And physical action right now will actually help our well-being. That's something else to remember. We want to keep physical. We don't want to get all into our heads. We want to be physical. We want to move our thoughts out into the world in physical activities, perhaps journaling, as mentioned in the Lenormand spread. So we've got this idea of impulsiveness, right? Some positive things. We've got the energy to do, and we want to do things, see the la maison Dieu. If we get all wrapped up in being competitive, in being seen as better, we could be heading for a fall. Rather, if we keep our power discreet and controlled, which could be difficult for an Aries, we could move forward better. Into what? Into harmony. Right? And here we see a beautiful figure sitting on the ground and looking up at the heavens. In the heavens there are birds, which are symbols of spiritual harmony and also the transcendent link between heaven and earth. Remember, this whole spread, we're linking heaven and earth here. Above, it was the divine coming down. Here, perhaps, we're reaching up towards the divine. And here we are, instead of feeling energetic and impulsive, we feel easygoing and sociable. And we have that potential for communicating with others and perhaps even a loving partnership of some sort, whether it be romantic or platonic. Still, some kind of loving connection might be possible. A very Libran thing, right? We want fairness at all costs. And we might be seen as indecisive, but that's their problem, it's not ours. The reason why we might be seen as indecisive is because we want things to be done fairly, correctly, in good balance, and we haven't landed on the best way to do that yet. Right? Because what? What is Libra? Libra is, let's see, mutable, cardinal air. Right? So it's the beginnings and the movement forward of thought. So it hasn't, like Aries hasn't decided what to do yet and focus yet. Libra hasn't decided and landed on the thing to focus the mind on yet. Right? But on the other hand, good conversations are possible and discussions. Remember the birds from the Lenormand spread? We might be a good counselor or a diplomat with our friends. We have strong and loyal friendships. We have that potential. So maybe that partnering that was indicated in the earlier spread might be more possible than I had thought. Yeah, our success is best when it's shared, and it's strongest when our success is shared in partnership. And we might end up being an instructor or a team leader, but we're not doing it because, like in Aries, we're putting ourselves out there to be the best. Look at me, but rather because we're using our power in good control, and that is recognized and people want to learn from us. Now we have talent in our public relations rather than trying to be the ones out in front, which may eventually lead us to be out in front, but that's not the goal, right? The goal is to find harmony. And I think in the larger Lenormand spread, we had some practical advice around that. But that is strengthened here in this spread. As we move from a potential disruption, might be a good disruption, it might be divine intervention, in towards our embodiment of our power, our maturation, and our illuminated minds. We want to move from our impulsiveness to harmony. Maintaining that passion from the Aries into the sun of Leo as we rest in the mind of Libra. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And if so, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments below. I would love to talk to you about that. And friends, again, thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button, and thank you for subscribing. You really are a blessing to many, many people. And also, if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. Shoot me an email to thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com and we'll get you a reading. Big, small, choose a system or we'll choose it together. Okay? And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.